This man merely glanced a few more times at a beautiful girl on the bus. Suddenly, the bus uncontrollably veered onto the railway tracks and was directly hit by an oncoming train. Two adorable girls on the bus also suffered. Not long after, the man woke up in another world, with two distinct sets of memories appearing out of nowhere in his mind. One was of Haruto Tengawa, a Japanese university student in his previous life, and the other was that of Leo, the original owner of his current body. The jumbled memories gave him a headache. Just then, three burly men walked into the room. They put down the sacks they were carrying and began to have their lunch. One of the men, disgusted by Leo's stench, drove him out. He was starving and could only fill his stomach with wild fruits. Were it not for the halo of the protagonist, the protection of the goddess of fortune, he might have been killed shortly after coming to this different world. As Leo ate, he tried to sort out his previous memories, but the more he thought, the more his head ached. He recalled the tragic past of his mother being killed and finally decided not to think about it anymore. In this life, he would live as Leo, so that he could avenge his mother in the future. Just then, several women in lavish dresses stopped him, hoping to inquire about the whereabouts of the kidnapped purple-haired princess. Although they needed Leo's help, their attitudes were quite arrogant. Fortunately, a white-haired teacher named Syria came out to ask questions, which made Leo let down his guard and provide them with some clues. He advised them to return, change into less noticeable clothes, and come back. Just in case, Syria used magic to probe the surrounding magical fluctuations, only to find that Leo had an enormous magic power within him, indicating that he had a talent for using magic. Just as they were preparing to leave, Syria gave Leo a bag of silver coins as a reward for providing clues. When he opened the bag, he found it was full of silver coins. To prevent others from noticing, he hung the money bag on his chest and quickly ran to his shabby house. However, as soon as he pushed open the door, a dagger fiercely stabbed towards his chest. Fortunately, the money bag on his chest blocked the fatal blow. The thug angrily closed the door and prepared to eliminate this last target. Leo, recovering, realized that all his co-workers had been killed. Just as the thug was closing in to deliver a fatal blow, time suddenly stopped. A pink-haired little sister glowing with a mysterious light suddenly appeared, instructing Leo on how to use his magic to defend himself. Leo used magic to enhance his physical strength and easily dodged the enemy's attack, then countered with a blow that pushed the thug back. The present and past lives intertwined, and the thug dared not underestimate Leo. He also used magic to enhance his physical abilities and stabbed at Leo again, but Leo easily evaded it. With a swift turn, Leo broke the thug's arm. The thug, annoyed by Leo's disregard, wanted to make a final struggle, but still was no match for Leo and was knocked unconscious with a judo throw. Leo, relieved, saw a movement from a bag in the corner of the room. He opened it and found the purple-haired princess they were looking for. The princess, with tears in her eyes, begged Leo to help her escape, promising to reward him handsomely. However, before Leo could respond, the princess fainted out of fright from the gruesome scene nearby. To repay Syria for saving his life with the money bag, Leo carried the unconscious princess out of the house. They soon encountered the women, now in different clothes. However, one of the purple-haired girls immediately slapped Leo, accusing him of being the main culprit in the princess's abduction. She did not listen to Leo's explanations and claimed her guess was definitely correct. Leo grabbed the girl's arm, asking her not to interrupt him, but was once again falsely accused of disrespecting the royal family and sentenced to death. The accompanying guards didn't differentiate the truth and ordered Leo to follow them. Under their martial oppression, Leo had no choice but to comply. But when Leo arrived at the palace, he was subjected to severe torture by the deputy captain of the knights, who wanted him to confess to the abduction. Leo, however, refused to admit to a crime he didn't commit. The real reason for their behavior was because the thug that Leo had knocked unconscious suddenly died without cause. To escape blame, the deputy captain intended to pin the crime on Leo, thus preserving his own noble dignity. Fortunately, the princess woke up earlier than expected and clarified the truth, saving Leo from being beaten to death. Following orders, Syria arrived with a female knight to save Leo. However, the released Leo, in anger, pushed Syria away and passed out. Syria quickly used magic to heal Leo's wounds, while the deputy captain, showing no signs of regret, left with his subordinates. When Leo woke up again, he was startled by the concerned Syria. He looked around and found it safe, and his wounds had been healed. All of this was thanks to Syria and the bag of coins that saved his life. All these made Leo grateful to Syria, knowing that it was not her fault. However, he didn't know where he should go or where his home was. Thankfully, Eventually, Syria told Leo that the king wanted to thank him in person. Leo saw his opportunity and asked Syria to teach him the etiquette for meeting the king, to which she happily agreed. Dressed in new clothes and bidding goodbye to his past self, Leo appeared transformed. Under the gaze of the royal family and the ministers, he confidently stepped forward to pay his respects, earning the king's approval to attend the Noble Academy. Even though Leo was impeccable in etiquette and conversation, he, being from a civilian background, was looked down upon by the children of nobility. Even a blonde student mocked him, saying he only had the talent to be a servant. Syria was somewhat helpless about this. She could only arrange for Leo to sit down and prepare for class amidst the surrounding laughter and ridicule. However, Leo paid no attention and focused on his lessons. Syria took special care of Leo, arranging for him to have private tutoring in her office. However, her slightly messy room made Syria blush a little with embarrassment. After all, a lady's room should be neat and tidy. Leo, understanding Syria's feelings, took the initiative to strike up a conversation with her to ease the atmosphere. Unexpectedly, he found out that Syria was only 12 years old and had been directly promoted to graduate school because she was so excellent, and she was now employed as a teacher. Leo, unwilling to lag behind, managed to solve the school's hardest math problem with ease, thanks to his university knowledge from his previous life. Though he only needed to understand numbers and symbols and perform simple multiplication and division, Leo wasn't familiar with the culture and language of this world, so he had to ask Syria to teach him more about these. In the swordsmanship practice class, Leo was picked out by the instructor to demonstrate his swordsmanship skills in front of everyone. The instructor appreciated Leo's unique starting stance, reminding him of his master's teachings in his past life. He took a leap and attacked the instructor, displaying both his skill and talent. The instructor thought Leo would be suitable to be a knight because of his unyielding momentum. However, Leo had no interest in becoming a knight. Over time, Leo, through his hard work, managed to tie for first place in the final exam with the purple-haired princess, leaving those who had looked down upon him speechless. Fast forward to 5 years later, Leo, now recognized by his teachers, had earned the qualifications to participate in the knight exchange match. The blonde rodent, although dissatisfied, was helpless. Leo returned to the office to explain the situation to Syria, helped her tidy up the messy books, and made her a delicious cup of tea. This left Syria with a happy expression on her face. She couldn't help but lament, "The little boy who used to need my protection has now become a formidable adult. If he does well in this competition, he might even be able to join the knight group." But Leo had no intention of becoming a knight. He wanted to return to his parents' hometown in the Bayun region. Syria felt a little lost at Leo's words. The 5 years they had spent together made it hard for her to live without him. She tried to keep Leo, asking him to stay and assist her with her work, but Leo decided to leave. The day of the competition soon came. Just as Leo was about to go on stage, he was taunted by a blonde boy, who told him not to embarrass their class. Syria, on the other hand, was cheering for Leo from the stands, encouraging him to do his best. His opponent turned out to be Charles, the deputy captain who had tortured him before. It's said that enemies are especially angry when they meet, but Leo was calm, apologizing for not being able to help himself. This immediately enraged Charles. As soon as the referee announced the start of the match, Charles launched an impatient attack on Leo, wanting to vent the anger of his demotion 5 years ago on Leo, but Leo calmly blocked it. Seeing Charles's increasingly fierce attacks, Syria was extremely worried about Leo's situation. The instructor on the side, however, had already seen through everything. Just when Charles jumped high and prepared to end the fight, Leo seized the opportunity to knock his weapon out of his hand. The result of the match was clear. Leo unsurprisingly won the match amidst thunderous applause from the audience. Charles could only leave with resentment. The annoyed vice-captain went to complain to his colleagues, but he didn't know that the sleazy man in front of him was the mastermind behind the princess's kidnapping. The man also knew that it was Leo who had ruined their plan back then. On the other side, Syria was hiding in the corner, preparing to celebrate Leo's victory. But she saw Leo heading in the opposite direction. Curious, she quietly followed him and saw a girl shyly confessing her feelings to Leo. Although Leo didn't give the girl a clear answer, Syria was very flustered. Tears filled her eyes. During this time, Leo became a popular figure in school. This made the noble students very jealous. They mocked Leo in class, calling him a waste who had no talent for magic. Even the most basic light magic was beyond his abilities. When Sirius saw Leo being bullied, she cast a strengthened version of the light magic, causing a dazzling light to sway back and forth in the classroom. This made them realize the difference between their control over the flow of magic power. Leo was very happy to know that Syria was helping him. Although he couldn't use magic like them, he could simulate the trajectory of the flow of magic power to achieve the same effect. This should be the so-called no-chant magic. It's just that Leo didn't know how to explain it. This made Styard, who was interested in Syria, very jealous. He not only made things difficult for Leo during the subsequent class field exercise, but also relied on the map provided by his family to shorten the journey. He arrogantly ordered Leo to carry everyone's luggage. The other students had no objections to this. Only the Princess Flora, whom Leo had saved, complained about the unfairness. She volunteered to help him carry some luggage, but Leo, who was used to it, declined her kindness and walked at the end of the line. On the way, a group of low-ranking goblins suddenly appeared, blocking their path. Charles defeated them flamboyantly, which led to Charles and gray-haired boy starting to compliment each other while also scolding Leo, who was in a daze by the side. Seeing Leo apologize, they prepared to move on with satisfaction. What they didn't know was that a group of mysterious people had set their sights on them. Following the guidance of the map, everyone came to a cliff that was so deep they couldn't see the bottom. Just as everyone was discussing taking a different route, a spear shot out from the woods, landing beside the blonde girl. A group of half-orcs blocked their way, causing panic among them. Despite being warned, some were getting injured. Styard, who was cut by the spear, was screaming in pain. He tried to seek help from someone but was ruthlessly pushed away. In the process of retreating, he accidentally bumped into the princess, causing her to fall off the cliff. Seeing that the situation was not right, Leo did not hide his strength anymore. He jumped off the cliff, held the princess in his arms, and used a wind magic spell to safely return her to the ground. He himself landed in the small woods below and disappeared. On the other side, with the cooperation of everyone, they successfully eliminated the half-orcs. Styard, whose leg injury had been healed, began to distort the truth. He claimed that Leo was the one who pushed the princess off the cliff, and it had nothing to do with him. He even prepared to leave with the others, without any intention of rescuing Leo from the bottom of the cliff. Only the princess argued for Leo and wanted to go find him alone. Seeing the shameful behavior of these nobles, Leo, who had been watching for a long time, turned around and left. He had no reason to stay any longer, but just then, a burly minotaur jumped out. Christine was the first to react and launched a powerful lightning magic attack, but it did not cause any damage to the minotaur. Instead, the minotaur displayed a mocking expression. The girls once again united and launched an ice spear magic attack. However, the minotaur just lowered his head and avoided all of them. The noble team tried to launch another charge, but they couldn't even withstand a regular attack. Seeing that there was no chance of victory, Charles yelled in horror for everyone to flee. Only the princess, who was still treating the wounded, did not escape. She caught the attention of the minotaur who, panting heavily, was ready to capture her as his wife. Fortunately, Leo appeared in time and cut off the minotaur's outstretched right hand. He told Flora to take the injured and leave quickly, while he stayed to distract the minotaur. The pain of the severed arm made the minotaur extremely ferocious. Leo could only resist by parrying each blow. After hundreds of rounds, there was still no clear winner. Leo had to calm down and look for the minotaur's fatal flaw. Finally, when the minotaur roared and lifted his axe to cut vertically down, Leo jumped in front of him and successfully cut off his head. Seeing the situation resolved, Leo didn't want to cause more trouble and turned to leave. All of this was watched by a man in black lurking in the shadows. Afterwards, Styard, in order to escape the responsibility of almost pushing the princess off the cliff, actually pressured the dean of the academy with his family and blamed everything on Leo. Their conversation was overheard by Syria, who was standing at the door delivering documents. The sudden turn of events made Syria worry about Leo. When she saw him that night, she hugged him without any hesitation, fearing that something would happen to him and he would never return. Syria, who understood the situation, was very dissatisfied with what had happened to Leo. However, due to the power of the nobles, she could do nothing to change it. Their only choice was to leave the country. The only person Leo was worried about was Syria, but Leo promised to write letters to Syria on the road, using his previous life's name, Harukawa Haruto, as the signature. After saying this, Leo prepared to get up and leave. Syria couldn't help but hold him and made him promise to come back safely. Syria put on a strong smile, cheering herself up as she watched Leo leave. But when Leo really left, she couldn't hold back her tears. After 3 days of traveling, Leo, who had left, had already arrived in the neighboring kingdom of Amando. Fortunately, the royal capital's arrest warrant for him had not reached here yet, which gave him plenty of time to prepare for his journey. Leo came to the famous local merchants to buy food materials. The person who received him was a lady named Liselot. It is said that Liselot invented pasta, which doesn't exist in this world, making Leo feel the familiarity of his hometown in a foreign country. And under Liselot's caring service and introduction of various goods, all the items Leo needed for his journey were arranged. In the end, Leo entrusted the Merchants Guild to help him send the letter to Syria, and then said goodbye to them, embarking on a new journey alone. But on the way, Leo saw a little girl lying on the ground. Leo quickly went up to check, but the girl turned out to be Latifa, an assassin sent by the kingdom. Leo quickly blocked with his hand and then kicked her away to create distance. But the poisoned needle in his hand made his consciousness blurry. Seeing her posture, it was clear that she came prepared to kill him. Leo didn't dare to be careless and quickly used magic to detoxify himself. Seeing that the poison was ineffective, Latifa drew her dagger and stabbed at Leo madly. All were easily dodged by Leo, but he was also forced to use elf magic to boost his attributes and contend with her. Latifa was equally unwilling to show weakness. She used magic to strengthen herself, and the fight between the two intensified. However, Latifa was unable to overcome Leo, which started to frighten her. Leo saw her reliance on weapons and how she didn't make use of her speed advantage, so he put away his weapon and engaged her in close combat, directly kicking her off balance. With a reverse grip, he threw her into the air. Latifa tried to retaliate, but Leo threw her over his shoulder onto the ground, disarming her. Leo pinned Latifa to the ground and she struggled desperately, crying and pleading for her life. Seeing that he couldn't have a proper conversation with Latifa in her current state, Leo used magic to put her to sleep. Leo, who had confiscated all of Latifa's equipment, saw the collar around her neck and sighed helplessly. He realized that she, like him, was also a person with a tragic fate. He then started to perform a curse removal magic he had read about in books, freeing her from the shackles that had bound her for many years. Latifa began to recall her experiences before and after reincarnation. It turns out that she, like Leo, had been reincarnated into this world, but she had been reborn in a dark dungeon as a slave to the orcs. Every day, she was abused by the sons of nobles. She was enslaved by the collar around her neck, becoming a tool for nobles to kill. These painful memories jolted her awake, but the face that greeted her was Leo's gentle countenance. The collar that had enslaved her was removed by Leo and held in his hand. This made Latifa break down in tears. She was finally free. In the subsequent conversation with Latifa, Leo learned that the assassination attempt had been ordered by the Yuguno family, represented by Styard. Their aim was to silence Leo out of fear that he would reveal the truth and tarnish their family's reputation. After understanding the whole situation and confirming that Latifa wouldn't attack him again, Leo cut the rope binding her, returned her equipment, and told her she could leave. He also told her she could head east to find companions in the undeveloped regions. However, for a young girl who had not matured mentally before or after her reincarnation, Latifa was unable to embark on a journey alone. She could only follow Leo and seek his protection. But for someone who had just tried to kill him, Leo wasn't ready to accept her so easily. To his surprise, Latifa willingly offered to put the slave collar back on in order to gain Leo's trust. For her, being bound by a collar was more acceptable than being alone. Seeing that he couldn't dissuade Latifa, Leo reluctantly agreed. This made Latifa very happy, and she quickly introduced herself. Thus, the two of them set off together.